Everyone is doing well. First of all, can I be heard? The question I always ask. Can you guys hear me all right? Feel free to throw it into live chat or wherever you want to be. Hope everybody's doing well. I hope nobody got terribly scared. Great. I'm glad I did get a new mic, as you can see here. I have this thing in the event that I start running into some pop filter problems, but this thing doesn't pick up sound extremely well. It's kind of designed for outside use, but it's real easy to use. So I just decided to give it a try for this particular time. And also some of my other mics, the YouTube application sort of the gain makes it really loud, especially for people with headphones and stuff like that. So I just thought I'd give this a shot today to see how things worked out. I hope everybody's doing okay. Can't see the chat screen terribly well, but I will do my utmost to keep an eye on it. And we'll go ahead and start to address the issues. Was anybody concerned last night? I mean, in spite of how remote the chances were of something happening with this booster, was anybody worried? Yeah, we had a mixture. I must say, I was a surprise guest on Space News Pod. They were very kind. I just sent a random message to them to ask because they were running a live stream tracking this. They did it for 24 hours, actually, from my understanding. Uh, Will was just about killing himself on that channel. But anyway, they invited me to come on. I spoke for about 20 minutes about the Chinese space program, about the threat represented by the reentry, and what I found to be the most significant about what happened. Well, there are two things. Number one, I don't know if all of you have seen this, but somebody caught a shot of the booster coming through the lower cloud cover, and the booster looked almost intact. It was had smoke obviously streaming from behind it, but if you they did a close up, and unless it's a fake video, that booster looked like it was in good shape, and the shot was taken from the Maldives, I believe. So in any event, it's not cool. It's well, not cool, I think is an understatement. It's a travesty. It's a completely irresponsible and absurd decision made by the Chinese government to put the planet at risk and put people on the planet at risk, and then just to say, oh, almost all of it's going to burn up in the atmosphere. It really doesn't represent any kind of threat, when that was a flat out lie. The booster, near as I can tell, again, unless that was fake video, there was a big chunk of that booster that made it straight through the lower cloud cover and hit somewhere either on one of the islands of the Maldives or very close by. So anyway, yeah, it's I'm I'm very angry about this. I especially considering that China does not appear to have learned any lessons from this. They don't appear to care, and they've got more components of this space station to go up. So this drama is going to repeat itself, guys. And next time, I mean, remember, we were anticipating, NORAD was predicting a re-entry. They kept changing it, but the most, up to date prediction was somewhere in the Pacific off the coast of South Africa, or South America rather. A very safe location. It didn't go down anywhere near there. It started burning up in the Middle East, off the Arabian Peninsula, and finally crashed down in the Indian Ocean, uncomfortably close, by the way, to Sri Lanka and to India, which are densely populated, especially in the southern region of India. It's a densely populated area. And I can't imagine if this booster, if indeed, like I say, I've got it linked in the description. I urge you to look at it if you haven't already looked at it. It was in damn good shape, and I can't imagine that if it had hit in the middle of a populated area, that it wouldn't have created a serious issue. So what I wanted to talk about today is, what can we expect from China in the future? What's next? What's the next time that they're going to be scaring the daylights out of everybody on the planet? Are they going to learn? Well, I think the obvious answer to that is no. They didn't hurt, or at least as far as we know, they didn't injure or kill anybody or cause any damage to property this time. So I think it's just going to encourage them to do it again. Excuse me. So yeah, that's my opinion. So what is coming next? Well, we do have a resupply ship in May, heading to resupply the station. Actually to provide supplies to the station for the taikonauts who are going up in July. And then, of course, we have the launch of the taikonauts up there as well. I'm just I'm going to try to get this a little bit closer. I'm scary up close. Just so maybe I can see this. Strongly support and effectively going to. I'm sorry, I missed this. Yeah, gonna pull the South China Sea crap in space. I would say so. Let's mark our turf. Let's establish a strong presence there, and let's start to seize control. Especially since the ISS is aging, especially since the ISS is due to be retired anytime, and so consequently, yeah, I would say that establishing dominance in low Earth orbit with their new station is a logical choice. I mean, I don't know. It just seems to me, with a military organization running their space program, that doing that would make sense. And by the way, if this were still the Cold War and it was the United States and the Soviet Union, then it would be the Mir space station versus the space station Freedom, both of which would have military objectives. I just don't think we need to be bringing back that sort of environment. Let's see. Department of Defense can't shoot down the booster. Then it's got oh, the Department of Defense, the Pentagon could have shot down the booster. The reason they didn't is because it would have made a bad problem worse. Because anti-sat weapons would have utterly blasted the thing apart, and created lots of space junk, and the kinetic energy from the explosion from the anti-sat weapon might have sent debris into higher orbits, and therefore creating even more problems when it comes to space junk and dangers to space travel. So really shooting it down with an anti-sat weapon would not have been a beneficial solution. So really the best solution would be to have a ship up there like a space tug or something, perhaps, that could intercept something that was moving at this speed and then push it down at the time of our choosing, to make sure that it re enters in the Pacific. That's one possible solution, something that a company called Skyrora, who I've mentioned a number of times, is intending to do. They're intending to have the upper stage of their rocket be a reusable space tug that can be used up to, I think, 10 or 15 times. It doesn't take a lot of thrust to change the trajectory of a rocket, give it a little shove, and then push it back into the atmosphere. Okay, we've got some comments here from our Discord members. I think they lost enough face for this that they'll be doing intentional deorbiting next time. I hope you're right, Starliner Glitch. That does make some sense. There just didn't seem to be a lot of remorse in their statements. But at the same time, yeah, it could be. And I certainly hope that that is the case. By the way, guys, I want to say thank you for joining me on Mother's Day. Those of you in the United States, Mother's Day is at different times in other countries. But thank you for joining me. I know this is an important day to a lot of you, so I do appreciate you guys paying me a visit today. The Chinese government will continue to do as they wish, says Brood in 62. They did it with COVID. They're doing it with global warming. They're going to do it with Taiwan and the South China Sea. They will only be confronted when a booster falls on a country other than their own. And it is a poor third world country. It'd be, yeah. If it, okay, sorry. If a rich country will buy their way out, what we do need to know, if it hits the U.S. or European country, then hopefully we have some means of sanctioning. Well, that's a big question, is it? Can we sanction them? Do we have the economic capability to sanction a country that owns so much of the world's debt? That's a tough one. How economically shoot their satellites out of the sky. I thought, let's find one of their small patrol boats at anchor that doesn't have anybody on board and sink it. That's what I was thinking. If it kills somebody, that is. If it killed somebody in the United States, I would say find a boat that they have anchored somewhere that has nobody on board and sink the damn thing. That's what I would say. Which is an extreme response, but I would say it would show that we're serious. Stop this. Stop it. So, I mean, it's an extreme reaction to take military action. But if we didn't kill anybody, if we just sank one of their assets or shot down one of their drones, maybe something like that, take some kind of action that really does show that the world means business. Yeah. Now, would that provoke a war? Maybe, but honestly, I don't think China wants to go to war with the US and their Western allies just yet. They're not in a military position to do that yet. So I don't think they would take that leap. And it would also demonstrate to them that the Western powers are willing to respond militarily to their actions, that they just can't, economic, it's tough to do anything. They own so much of the world's debt. So much of the world's economy is based on what China does. If you sanction them, you're kind of sanctioning yourself. The impact is minor. So, I would say more extreme action. And I'm not a warmonger. I don't want to start a war with China. But, shoot down one of their drones, sink one of their patrol boats when it's at anchor, and we're pretty certain that there's nobody on board, that sort of thing. Make them hurt a little bit. Make them pay for this irresponsibility. But then I'm a bit of a radical. So, how do I feel about the ESA's position that private enterprises and governments must clean up their space junk? I agree, Mad Lawyer. I think you're right about that. I think that it's irresponsible to not clean up your space junk. However, there's lots of space junk up there right now that has yet to be dealt with. The British and the ESA, but particularly the British, are taking it upon themselves to design craft to deorbit space junk, dead satellites, etc. And that's an important job, and they are taking a big part in it. And of course, A lot of you probably heard Elon Musk, and the X Prize and that sort of thing. Have some money up for somebody who can design a system to grab space junk, that sort of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of I am very much in favor of that. Don't start shooting down satellites, says Mimi. You're right. The potential cascade effect would be a disaster. Yeah, shooting down one of their satellites would be as damaging to us and everybody else as it would be to the Chinese, perhaps even more so. So yeah, it's I once again, like I say, it may sound hawkish on my part, but at what point do we just start saying enough? At what point do we say that's enough? Somebody's got to stop this and, make them hurt a little bit. Take one of their expensive patrol boats and put it at the bottom of the South China Sea and say, this is going to get worse if you do it again. Um, once again, would this start a war with China? I doubt it because I don't think they're in a military position to start a full scale war with the United States and the West just yet. But they're getting there. But currently, they are outgunned. So, especially with nuclear weapons. And so, I don't think they would start a war over just sinking one of their boats, especially if we didn't kill anybody in the process. The Queen Bee spacecraft, yes, to reiterate, the Queen Bee has been designed by an asteroid mining company. It's designed to be launched on the Starship. It is colossal. It's collapsible, and then it expands. It has this great big bag and like a scoop on it, and it's designed to gobble up big asteroids and bring them back and mine them. But it could definitely be used to gobble up space junk as well. They have already suggested this. I believe the company's name is Ad Astra. It's been so long since I've made a video about it. But yeah, that's a great idea. And I think once again, these companies only have so many big time investors. The government should put some money where their mouth is. We're not talking about a lot of money here. We're talking, tens or a couple $100 million. It's nothing compared to the amount of money that gets spent on other projects that have far less positive results, in my opinion. So, the government just needs to support it. But obviously, they don't give a damn. They don't give a damn. The amount of money that they put into the HLS is pathetic. $17 million. I'm sorry, for the commercial space station program. $17 million. NASA asked for $150 million. They awarded Axiom Space. They awarded Axiom the contract to start putting up a commercial station attached to the ISS to become a free floating station, a critical station to compete with China in LEO. And NASA asked for 150 million, and Congress gives them 17 million. I mean, are you kidding me? These congressmen and these senators get way more money than that from the people who contribute to their campaign funds. It is unacceptable. It's ridiculous. And it demonstrates that Congress doesn't give a damn about space. They don't care. And China most definitely does. And that is why they are going to beat the Western world in control of LEO and possibly cislunar space unless we do something about it. And nobody cares enough about it yet, at least not the people in power. And that has got to change. And it's got to change right now. There can't be any more delays. Yeah, I'm ranting. That's why this channel is called what it is. And there are few things that piss me off more than this. So, all right, rant concluded. We'll go ahead and hold on just 1 second. I want to make sure that I'm catching up here. I'm sure there's a billion chats. Yeah, time for a coup. That might not be a bad thing. A super chat came in. Thank you. By the way, I know I just completed this big trip. Thank you so much for supporting it. But my next goal, Foom, thank you so much. Foom coming through for me as he always does. You're awesome. And like I say, I mean, it's fine either way. But just to let you know, my next goal is to go to the Mojave Desert to watch the next Virgin Orbit flight. There's a lot of complications to that in terms of what's permitted. But nevertheless, there's a town in Mojave. I see no reason why I can't photograph Cosmic Girl as it takes off and film it up at 30,000 feet. I mean, filming an airliner at that altitude is not that difficult. And bring that to you live. That's what I'm hoping to do. Plus, there's some very cool stuff there. There's an airliner graveyard, a massive number of dead planes out there that, because of the dry climate, are left there until they get scrapped. So that is my next goal, is to go see Virgin Orbit in their second mission, which I think is going to be some pretty cool stuff. Given that they've already successfully put stuff into orbit, this is a military mission, primarily, not exclusively. But they're doing stuff for the U.S. Space Force, and they are also doing stuff for the Dutch military. There's a bunch of different satellites on this rocket that's being launched from a modified 747 cargo version, and it's just cool. I think it's pretty stinking cool to launch a rocket from a 747 at high altitude to get away from a lot of the Earth's gravity, that sort of thing. So I'm very much interested. Communist China has no respect for others other than their own safety. Yeah. And the ironic thing is this isn't even, I mean, even their own safety is theoretically uh, threatened by that. Do I know the Chinese have the superiority to steer their rockets? Hold on just one second. I'm sorry here. Capability to steer their rockets. They even figured it out, or they think about it. That is an open question. Given everything that they've been able to accomplish so far with their innovative technology in space, and the fact that they're copying the Falcon 9 right now and everything like that, just a simple deorbiting system. I mean, lots of countries use them. I can't imagine that China doesn't have the ability to do that or to subcontract out somebody else to do it. I just don't think there's any emphasis. Now, there is a theory out there that they did have that in place. They simply failed. The system failed, and the Chinese are not admitting it. That would also be a possibility. It's kind of hard to say. So anyway, they're putting themselves somewhere in harm's way. Yeah. Does China, hold on, there's another question. Will China ever copy Starship? I think that's going to be a tough one for them to do, and perhaps even not really all that necessary, depending on how much money they want to spend on this. The Long March 9, which is their new heavy rocket, their heavy lift capability rocket designed to take cargo to the moon. It has a lot of capabilities, and yeah, it's disposable, but I mean, what's money, right? I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I think that reusability is more important to commercial organizations that are looking to save money, or to NASA that has a very limited budget. The Chinese Space Agency has as much of a budget as their government thinks they should have. So that's just a little absurd. Transastra, thank you. Okay, I appreciate that, Johnny. Transastra are the guys who are making the Queen Bee. So yeah, not Ad Astra, Trans Astra. I always get that confused. Ad Astra is a movie, I think, wasn't it? With like Brad Pitt or something like that. Anyway, okay. So that's now one thing to if you guys are watching some footage of the Long March, there's some things that you would keep in mind. You'll notice that it appears to be flashing, that it gets bright, dim, bright, dim, bright, dim during anything you're watching. That doesn't mean that it's fake and it's an airplane. What that means is that it's tumbling. it's spinning and the sun's light is hitting more reflective parts of it, the longer part of it that has a higher albedo than the end of the rocket, which has, of course, a lot less albedo. So you get, bright, dark, bright, dark. And by the way, that's how we also knew that Oumuamua was tumbling, because of bright, dark, bright, dark. We were getting the same impact. It's one of the reasons why so many people, well, Dr. Loeb anyway, and a lot of his associates are thinking that Oumuamua was an artificial object, is because that bright, dark thing did not change with the change in velocity. And if there was an outgassing of some kind, even from a substance different than ice, if it was from methane, I'm not methane, but nitrogen or something along those lines, that whole rotation speed would have changed. It would have become faster or slower depending on the circumstances. But that bright, dark kept going at precisely the same rate until we lost sight of it. That looks artificial as hell, and as something that has yet to be explained by anybody. So I know I'm way off topic here, but it is something that immediately occurred to me when I saw this thing, the footage of this thing, and it's kind of the appearance of it flashing, was the fact that that's what a Muamua looked like, at least through our telescopes. So that is something to keep in mind. Okay, let's see here. So yeah, a lot of still in tech, etc. Yes, humans can achieve 20% of the speed of light, and this is also as a result of, we're going off topic here, but oh well. That also is a result of a plan from Dr. Loeb, the very same guy who believes that Oumuamua is the product of an extraterrestrial civilization. He's the one who came up with the Breakthrough Starshot initiative with a number of other scientists who also support his theory, by the way, of Muamua being artificial. But the idea is that you have light sails that you hit with high intensity multi. I think it's gigawatt. I'm trying to remember again. Even though in Back to the Future it was gigawatt, it's gigawatt actually. In order to provide a huge amount of thrust to something very, very light, and rapidly accelerating it to 20% of the speed of light. We could build something like that now if we wanted to, and send probes out to Proxima Centauri or Alpha Centauri for that matter, and have a quick look at the exoplanets that are there. Especially since we've received this mysterious signal from Proxima Centauri. We're not sure what it is. That alone, it provides some interest. And plus, we'd just be going to another star system. I mean, that would be a fascinating thing. So anyway, but once again, I kind of ran off topic there. So, in terms of what we have coming next, what we have happening next on the agenda with China, is we have the additional components of this space station, and but before that, we have a cargo ship going up in May. This cargo ship can actually carry 1,000 kilograms more mass than either Cargo Dragon or the future Sierra Nevada Dream Chaser, even with the shooting star module attached. It can carry a lot of cargo, assuming that the Long March 7, that's a different rocket, can carry that much mass to that orbit. And the Chinese are not saying whether or not they have that capability. But the cargo ship will go, and then people will go in July. So the Chinese will have taikonauts on the station in July. That's how fast this is all happening. And the plan is to have the station completed by 2023. They will have a completed station by 2023. and that is truly unfortunate. When does the Chinese lander get to Mars? I think I do believe it's this month. Actually, I think they're going to try to land it this month. They've been spending some time getting ready, analyzing landing. They weren't even sure about their landing site until fairly recently. They had picked a number of locations, probably going down close to where the Viking currently is, Viking 1. But once again, that's one of the safer places to set down. There's a lot of extremely useful tech on the Chinese lander, including ground penetrating radar, where they will be able to detect water ice as far as 100 meters beneath the surface. Thank you so much, Super Chat Team, plugging in. Thank you. I do appreciate it. And yes, indeed, I am doing well, Raspergo. I do appreciate that. And once again, to reiterate, I know it's not as exciting as Starship to a lot of you folks, but my plan for anything I raise right now is to go to the Mojave spaceport to watch Virgin Orbit. There's a lot of cool stuff at the Mojave spaceport. By the way, there's a museum that has not a copy, but rather the original Spaceship One, the first commercial manned commercial vessel to make it past the Kármán line. And of course, that was launched 16 years ago or something like that. It was a long time ago. But that's there. So I'll be bringing back some very cool content from there. Depending on the circumstances, assuming that I am, able to go. Once again, I think I can do it with my own funds if I don't receive, a lot of support. And once again, I wouldn't blame anybody. You guys gave me a lot for that last trip. Thank you so much for all that. You guys did a lot to help me, and I am deeply appreciative. But Chris, you always come through. Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you so much for the 10 quid. I am deeply appreciative of that. And by the way, my visit to Mojave is going to be directly connected to some future plans of mine, and I am not going to go further into it. Oh, Foom again. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow. I really do appreciate it. Tim, thank you. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate that. You guys are awesome. You're the best. Thank you. I mean, you guys did so much when I was out in Boca Chica. Thank you for coming through on this. And like I say, it'll be easier in a lot of ways for me to provide content and a lot cheaper too from Mojave because the Virgin Orbit is going to set a specific launch date. They're going to say this is the day we're going, blah blah blah, and then Cosmic Girl will take off and it'll go. Now, of course, nothing's 100%, but now that Virgin Orbit has successfully reached orbit, now that they know how to do it, there is, I'd say, a really good chance that they're going to be successful this time around. And to reiterate, for those of you who are new here, the Virgin Orbit mission is carrying satellites for the U.S. Space Force. It's carrying a satellite for the Dutch Defense Department. And it's carrying a few other experimental satellites as well. So a lot of cool stuff coming out. Oh, yeah, the same shirt. Yeah, from Crew Dragon, the Crew Mission 2. This one I got this from a gift shop in Texas. I'm gonna have to do a shout out for that gift shop. It's in Houston, Texas. I don't have the information right in front of me, sadly, but it's like Space Souvenirs, I believe it's what it's called. Just look up Space Souvenirs if you're in Houston. The lady who owns this place, she is awesome. She is a wonderful person and has awesome stuff that other people don't have. If you're the kind of person that likes to just shop, and try things on and stuff instead of just doing it all online, go there. It's some cool things. Now you'll have a Boca stop off. You have with Will this summer. That's true. For those of you who don't know, Space News Pod is moving to Boca Chica. this is one of the reasons why I'm kind of focusing on British space travel and other launches and stuff. Because, like, there's a lot of people descending on Boca, a lot of people descending on South Padre Island. I don't want to compete with all of them because they've got way better equipment than I do. They've got way better stuff. They, just better capabilities. And also, they're, razor focused on Starship. They know more about Starship than I do because my knowledge is, over a broader topic. I know about things like Spacebit and Skyrora, and Spaceport Cornwall, all of these things, in Britain and stuff like that that aren't necessarily researched very thoroughly by people who are razor focused on Starship. And so the people who know Starship really well, they know a little bit more than I do about it. So that being the case, I I'm going to leave that to them, which is great. It doesn't mean I'm not going to go back to Boca. I will. But, a lot of people there doing really good work, they can do that. That's their thing. That's cool. I'll go back someday, definitely, but I'm not gonna try to compete with all of them. I'm just not. That's not my thing. I'm about space. I'm not about Starship. I'm about space and all aspects of space flight, space science, everything. I cover the whole gamut. And I can't do that if I'm focusing razor focused on Starship, living in South Padre, and just to, really just totally focused on Starship. To me, that would distract me. So I prefer to be in a place where there's going to be a lot of other stuff going on and I can cover the world rather than just what's happening with SpaceX. And once again, SpaceX doing some super important stuff, but not the only stuff, not the only stuff. So we'll see as far as that's concerned. Okay, let's see. China invade the Philippines. Boy, I hope they don't. Personally, I think China's first target is going to be Taiwan if they go anywhere. But the United States has made it abundantly clear that if China invades Taiwan, a state of war will exist between the United States and the People's Republic of China, which has kept China from invading Taiwan this whole time. So, and that happened when Chiang Kai shek died back in the 1970s. For you history people out there, or just people who were alive at the time, Chiang Kai shek died in Taiwan in the 1970s. There was, of course, some chaos at that time, and it seemed like an ideal opportunity for China to take advantage of that moment and invade. And President Jimmy Carter at the time said that if China invades Taiwan, a state of war will exist between the United States and the People's Republic of China. And that's always been the United States policy ever since. Even though we recognize the People's Republic of China, as the legitimate Chinese government, at the same time, we will defend Taiwan militarily if China invades. That at least is our stated policy. So China, has therefore not done any, and I think that sticks in their craw. Just so you know, I think that really makes them mad. So in any event, yeah, China and Russia are now cooperating. I can't help but wonder how long that's going to last. If China says, "Oh, we're in control because we got all the money," that sort of thing. Yeah. A statement was just made. Taiwan is not part of China. Yeah, not officially. However, if you ask the nationalist Chinese government in Taiwan what they think about the subject, they will tell you that they are the legitimate government of China and that they were illegally overthrown by the communist Chinese in the 1950s. And that they are the legitimate government of China. As a matter of fact, Ronald Reagan wanted to acknowledge Taiwan as being China and not China. Which, regardless of how you feel about the People's Republic of China, it just doesn't make any sense. You got this little island, and then you've got this massive country of over 1 billion people. Obviously, the People's Republic of China is the legitimate government of China. Well, legitimate, that's a hard one to say. They don't have free elections, but they're the ones in charge. They're the boys in charge. So they are China, but still Taiwan is regards themselves as the legitimate government of China, always have, who were illegally overthrown by a communist revolution. That is their stated position, and probably always will be. And once again, I can't really blame them, because I mean it's true. They were the legitimate government until they got overthrown. So anyway, that's the deal as far as that's concerned. So okay, Angry Yesterday. I'm surprised that a war between China versus America. What do you think about the North Korean space agency and their rockets? Well, North Korea's space capability is pretty limited, satellites, that sort of thing. I think their main focus is mostly on the ability to deliver nuclear weapons in an intercontinental fashion, because not that they intend to nuke us or anybody else. I don't think they intend to proactively nuke anybody. I think Kim Jong-un doesn't want to end up like Saddam Hussein. I think that he doesn't want to get overthrown by an American invasion and then murdered by his own people, the way Saddam Hussein did. And so he's going to use nuclear weapons to keep anybody from invading him. Now, of course, if all of a sudden he gets a paranoid moment and decides, oh, they're going to invade us in any minute, and pushes the button, that's scary stuff. But off topic. But I would say the vast majority of North Korea's rocketry efforts are focused on the delivery of nuclear weapons. Some satellites, that sort of thing, but mostly their nuclear capability is the main thing. China's made a space station, Roscosmos, Russia's federal space agent, calling an international lunar research station. Yeah, it is interesting. I must say, we have a serious competition going on between the U.S. and the West, the ESA, and China and Russia. There's a big time competition to get the first base on the moon, and there are big stakes, big stakes. So, it's time to stop screwing around, U.S. Congress. Time to stop messing around and support this. So anyway, what are you going to say? Fortunately, the current administration, like the previous administration, has said that they support going back to the moon. They're all for it. So, we'll see as far as that's concerned. Oh, thank you so much. A big super chat coming in from who is Moto Man. Thank you so much, Moto Man. You are totally awesome. And then 5 quid. I'm sorry, last name Brown, Bear Brown, looks like, with SN16 almost complete and work continuing on the future modules. When are they going to store after SN15's recovery? Actually, Elon has made it very clear. Elon has made it extremely clear that he intends to try to relaunch SN15. Now, whether a relaunch of SN15 is going to come before a launch of SN16 is an open question. How much damage do those Raptors really take? That's a big question. Okay, I'm going back to Discord. What orbit will the Chinese station be in relation to the ISS? Any Starship orbital activities? You don't need to be in person for launch. Oh, thanks for that. There's a lot of live feeds. Yeah, I just like going. What can I say? When I was live at Boca Chica, even though my image was crap, people who were chatting seemed to really like it. They seemed to really enjoy what I was doing. There's a lot of positives. Especially when that kid was running back and forth in front of the camera, and I invited him to come join me and watch the launch together. That was a magical moment for me, I must say. I really did enjoy that. That was cool. That was just cool. And it is amazing. I'll tell you, going there, seeing the stuff in person is mind blowing. But yeah, I mean, going in person to every launch, no way am I going to do that. I'm going to go to major things. But for me, Virgin Orbit is kind of a big deal just because it is a unique way of launching. So I do find that to be quite intriguing. To answer the question about the orbit of the station, it is elliptical and variable. It goes as high as I believe is 600 kilometers and comes back down to 400. It's more of an interesting elliptical kind of orbit that has a highly variable orbit compared to ISS, from what I've read. So it is different. Um, excuse me, but definitely an LEO station, definitely, and modular, and could be made into the biggest thing in space. This could be made into a colossal space station, and could also aid China's efforts to go to the moon. That is definitely something that could happen. China, if they build a fuel depot up there, then they could launch smaller rockets, smaller manned ships, or just, ships with not as much fuel, and then refuel them in orbit using a fuel depot. Is that part of their ambition with their space station? Hard to say. They aren't talking. That's the problem with a space station that's controlled by one country, is everything can be done under the cloak of secrecy. I don't like that. I don't like that one little bit. So I just hope that, that nothing bad comes out of it. How can there be consequences for China without proper space treaties about reentries? That's true. Good point, Tishman. There needs to be treaties about this stuff. As of right now, it's just been more of a gentleman's agreement. But you're right. That's silly. We've got to actually have treaties. Not that China would sign it. They probably wouldn't sign it, but at least there might be treaties, and then there can be, then there can be, and also I guess there might be consequences if they kill somebody. If they kill someone with a reentry or cause property damage or stuff, because they've already caused property damage with what they've been launching in the past to their own country, but they've done it. So if they do it to somebody else, there's got to be some accountability there, especially if they don't apologize for it. I mean, that has to be taken into account. China promotes the station, hope to fill a void of the ISS being decommissioned, so it'll be more accommodating to be successful. Yeah, I mean, once the ISS is decommissioned, and by the way, this is something that Axiom Space and Sierra Nevada Corporation, who brilliantly did an advertisement during Elon's Saturday Night Live performance. They did a big advertisement about their space initiatives. That was so stinking smart of them. Let's go ahead and grab the initiative with this. But they're putting up a space station as well. These two companies, Sierra Nevada and Axiom Space, are on the cutting edge of competing with China in low Earth orbit, and they need to be supported. And right now, they're not being supported. Axiom got a little bit more than 10% of the money that they were supposed to get. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. They've got a very good plan. That's why NASA approved it. They're raising tons of money on their own, and they have enough money to build their first module on their own. But still, the US government needs to get behind this. It's going to be so much cheaper to do experiments and to do the work that you can do in microgravity on the Axiom station than it's going to be to do it on the ISS. Period. Because of competition and because of the private enterprise. It's as simple as that. It's always cheaper. Always cheaper that way. Okay, let's see here. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, that was the SN16 question. Okay. And yes, I am talking about space again. I know there's a comment. Sorry, I went political there for a little while. You are quite welcome. Let's see. Do you think land on the moon first of America, China, or the China is on? Who's going to make it to the moon first? It depends on whether or not Congress supports it. That is the key thing. That is the key thing. So we'll see. We'll see what happens as far as that's concerned. But it is of vital importance that America's private and efforts in space, well, not just America, everybody, because Thales Alenia in Europe, an Italian company that manufactures all over Europe, these guys are building the modules for the Axiom station. So this is an international collaboration, and many nations will be sending astronauts up there. And by the way, a deal was made with Monaco. Can you believe it? Monaco astronauts. This is a brilliant idea, by the way. Monaco, a tiny little country that couldn't, build their own space capabilities, but they got a lot of money. They got a lot of money, and they can pay Axiom to take those astronauts up to their station. And an agreement was just formulated between Axiom Space and the nation of Monaco. A great idea, a really, really brilliant idea on the part of Axiom and Monaco for that matter. So Axiom will train their astronauts. Axiom has an astronaut training program of their own, and they're going to bring those astronauts to the Axiom station to do their own work. Brilliant. Great idea. Definitely a good way to raise some money. So let's see here. Yeah, it's okay. Another super chat. Thank you. Just came across here. Do you think SpaceX would even license Starship hulls to other companies? No, I do not. I do not think that they would lease anything that they build. I think that they'll be happy to carry up cargoes for other customers, but I don't think they're going to allow other people to use their technology. I really don't. I think that Elon is very jealous of his technology, and rightly so, by the way. And I don't think he's going to be leasing anything out to anybody. Now they can put whatever they want to in the fairing. I just don't think that he's going to reveal much information about Starship technology. There's just too much in there that's too important, way too important. Okay. Let's see here. Just checking other questions, that sort of thing. There's so much stealth war. Um, So yeah, but yeah, just again to review the events that have taken place. For those of you who are new, we'll go ahead and get back to that real quick. Obviously, Long March 5B has re-entered. It re-entered thousands and thousands of kilometers west of where it was projected to come down. It was projected to come down in the Pacific off the coast, safely off the coast of South America. It didn't come down anywhere close to that. It began reentry, according to the U.S. Space Command, south of the Arabian Peninsula, and kept burning up and coming down until it hit in the Maldives or close to the Maldives. And once again, we can't say for certain if anybody might have been hurt. Once again, some of these are very remote places. There are over 300,000 people in that nation, in the Maldives. So and if you watch the footage of that booster re-entering, it looks pretty doggone intact. It looks like it's in pretty good shape when it comes through the clouds and prepares to slam into the earth. So all of this BS that's been given to us from the Chinese government, that almost all of it is going to burn up in the atmosphere, no way. No way. That booster looked like it was in pretty good shape when it came down. At least good enough shape to crush people, property, and cause a lot of shrapnel in the area of wherever it impacted. So once again, just to review what occurred, it wasn't anything like China said it was going to be. And the unpredictability of uncontrolled reentries could not be more apparent than the fact that we were thinking it was going to come down in the Eastern Pacific, and instead it came down in the Indian Ocean. And it started to re-enter south of the Arabian Peninsula. I mean, how far off can you get? But the thing of it is, with something that's traveling that fast, even the smallest error is going to create a huge difference in impact zones. So yeah, it's and that's something that needs to be kept in mind. Thank you so much. Boom, jumping in again. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. That's very generous. Um, let's see. If China wins the space race, the first to find extraterrestrial life, better run the Chinese. We'll try. Okay. Weaponize it. Yeah, I don't know. Once again, it's all speculation. We can't say for certain what China's going to do, what kind of action they're going to take, what sort of experiments they're going to conduct on their space station. All of this is speculation. However, given their track record and given the fact that they've started out, I mean, nobody is talking about the Tianhe. Nobody's talking about the first module, this great big module of this space station that they put into orbit and all the cool things they'll be doing with it. No mention of it whatsoever. Instead, we're talking about the danger posed to the Earth. Talk about replacing what should be positive publicity with negative publicity, but it's their own fault. And I hope they fix it. I hope they learn and they fix the issue and they'll have a controlled reentry next time. But somehow I tend to think they're just going to say the same thing they said before. These things mostly burn up in the atmosphere. They don't really represent any kind of a threat. So what are you going on about? I really think that's what they're going to do again. And again, the world is going to be watching. And they may not watch so closely this time. They may have said, a bunch of hype, who cares? And this thing might come down straight on somebody's home or an apartment complex or who knows what else. And, something that heavy moving at supersonic speeds, hitting an apartment complex would cause a very large loss of life, and anything that like that is going to have to result in a reaction of some kind. Who knows where it might go? Who knows how serious it might be? And this is the kind of game that the People's Republic of China is playing. It's completely irresponsible. And like I say, I know I'm saying myself over and over again. Reasons for China to build its own space station. Interesting. So a link just got put on to Discord. By the way, if you're interested in being a Discord member, everything's in the description on how to support me. Patreon members for as little as $3 a month get onto our Discord server. $3, not much really a month. Of course, you can do more if you want to support the channel more, but it's $3 a month, and you get on the Discord server, and you can interact with a very growing community of people who really know what they're talking about. Definitely know what they're talking about. So anyway, just making sure that there's nothing else here. I don't believe so. Check. No. Definitely caught up on the. Let's just check our time here. Okay, we are starting to run out of time. I frankly am very tired. Ever my return, I spent 6 hours driving from Boca Chica back to Houston right after watching the launch. Didn't get there till 1 in the morning. Didn't get a lot of sleep. I haven't got a lot of sleep since. I stayed up late last night watching the whole drama with the booster reentry. And then trying to get some reports afterwards as to whether or not it actually hit something of consequence, which it might have. I mean, it's not like there was nobody in the danger zone when it came down. There certainly was. Um, so I'm just very glad that at least from early reports, nobody has been hurt and there is no property damage to our knowledge. Sadly, they control the internet and no one in China will ever know about the booster coming down, that it posed a threat. Take your odds that the channel is banned in China, says Bruden62. You are 100% right. Nobody is better at suppressing knowledge over the internet than the North Koreans. They're number one. China's number two. China gives a lot more access to knowledge than North Korea does in their defense, but still, they are super good at suppressing knowledge. So anyway, and that should give us an indication of what we're dealing with here. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up with some things here. There is a space race theory that Yuri Gagarin was not the first person in space. That China has footage of a cosmonaut in a capsule in the mountains in Russia. Um, I disagree with that. I think that Russia had a very brilliant man in charge of their space program at the time, Dr. Korolov, and uh, and they just beat us to. And if he had not suffered an untimely death, there is a very good chance, according to Yuri Gagarin, I happen to agree with him on this, that the Soviet Union would have beat the United States to the moon. Um, he was a genius. He was an amazing rocket scientist, and he had a lot of talent at his disposal. As they said in the right stuff, our Germans are better than their Germans. But still, it wasn't just that. Obviously, the Russians had access to former V2 rocket scientists, but Dr. Korolev was quite a genius when it came to rocket science. That's how they got Sputnik up before anything we set up. That's how they got Yuri Gagarin into orbit. Um, they had a really competent guy running the program, and then he died, and that took care of that. So it's strange how strange these twists of fate change the history of the world and the history of space flight, but it does. It most definitely does. Yeah. Yeah, nobody really is taking advantage. It's just it's messed up. The engine that came in from the cold documentary. I have not seen that actually. Document was when 60 Russian closed cycle engines. Interesting. Yeah, the closed cycle engine was something that the Russians were developing for their N2 rocket. They're the first but for closed cycle rockets. That's very similar to the Raptor. A lot of power behind those rockets, and they didn't have them on their first couple, but that was a technology that they were delving into big time. And that is an interesting comparison, by the way. The N2 was a rocket that had a bunch, by the end of the program anyway, had a whole bunch of closed cycle rocket engines, a ton of them. Does that sound familiar? That sounds exactly like the Super Heavy, a whole bunch of closed cycle engines. Now, of course, the Soviets they didn't support their program as aggressively at that point after we beat them to the moon, as Elon Musk is supporting his own program. So, there's a lot of reasons to think that, of course, Starship isn't going to suffer the same fate as N2, but still, or N1, rather. I'm sorry, N1. But yeah, thank you for the correction. I'm tired. I cannot tell you how many stupid mistakes I made. I released a short yesterday where I was saying the Long March 9 was about to re-enter. My brain is scrambled, and actually I'm going to yeah, it just passed an hour. I'm afraid I'm going to have to close down. Let me hold on real quick. Am I going down to CSN 16? No, I am not. The next launch I intend to see actually is the Virgin Orbit flight from Mojave. I want to see a different kind of launch this time. I want to see a rocket take off from a modified 747. I think that's going to be crazy cool. Plus, you can see the 747 taking off with the rocket attached from the airfield and all that kind of stuff. I think that's going to be some awesome stuff. So that's what I'm working towards right now. The next visit that I intend to make to Boca Chica is when they do something with the Super Heavy, when they have a big test with the Super Heavy or with the whole stacked system. That's what I intend to go back. Not that I don't want to go back, but I spent 12 days in Texas at a great, it cost about $3,000, guys. Now, a lot of that my supporters paid for, but that's not fair. It's not fair for you guys to be picking up that kind of bill. It just isn't. So I don't want to put you guys through that again. A visit to the Mojave spaceport is going to be way cheaper, way more doable, and it's going to be just as special. just as special to see a rocket take off from a 747 and watch it soar to orbit. I think that's going to be some cool stuff. So I'm very excited about that. Anyway, Korolov equals Musk, says Johnny Spacer. There, that's a big statement. That's a good way to end it. Yeah, Korolov definitely was pretty much a genius. Musk was big claim to make, but this is the dude that first took anything into orbit, anything. So yeah, that comparison is to be made there, definitely. And that's where we're going to end things, guys. I really do appreciate you tuning in. The recorded version of this will have ads. I'm very sorry, but once again, I'm in fundraising mode again, as I am trying to go to watch Virgin Orbit take off this time. So please accept my apologies for that. But thank you so many people for joining me. Please like, please subscribe, please become part of our little family on Patreon. It's all in the description. And until the Chinese make a launch that is not uncontrolled, until they actually take some damn responsibility for what they are doing and not put human lives at risk, I urge all of you to stay angry about space.